Well, that was my voice.
What are you doing here?
Hello.
You aren't supposed to come in today.
Now I'm starting my OBS voice. Hello. Okay, are you ready to sync the audio? Tom.
Yep.
Are you ready?
I had to burp a couple times first, but now I'm ready.
Let me puke a couple of times. All right. Ready? Ready,
yes.
Tom? Ready, Tommy boy? The pipes.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Remember, after 3 we clap.
Yes.
1, 2, 3. All right, I clapped.
You clapped.
Bitch.
We clapped together. It's one.
We clapped together. That one actually hurt. That one's staying.
You clapped too hard.
Okay.
You broke your fucking little wrists.
I broke the sound barrier with that one. That's how you get the sound of a clap, fellow gamers. Anyways, that's not important. What is important is this, Tom, is that your audio is not peaking because you're good at recording audio, and also
maybe I should start
because we have
screaming into the mic then to make sure it does.
Maybe you should, but what we really should be talking about is how we're both fucking decrepit and sick, and our bodies are killing us slowly right now. I don't sound that bad right now because I'm getting out of it, but Tom is getting into the shit right now as far as being sick.
I don't
like
know
a piece of shit.
I think I just had food poisoning yesterday. I don't know if I'm like sick right now, or if I just feel like shit today because I had a shitty day.
It's either that or you're pregnant. It's either that or your boy pregnant. Yeah, you could be boy pregnant.
I could be pregnant. You're right.
Yeah, so we'll keep, get tested,
But yeah, so
it's never too early.
What happened yesterday? Okay, so it's actually a weird series of events. First thing that happened was 2 days ago on Sunday. I had slept I had accidentally taken like a 2-hour nap during the day, so I just wasn't tired at night. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna try to fix my sleeping schedule and like just power through the night, take an all-nighter, and then go all the way through the day, and then go to sleep at a normal time tomorrow. So I went to Wawa and got like some food and one of those
got your classic hoagie.
Got a Starbucks. I actually got a chicken sandwich, and we'll get back to that. I got a chicken sandwich, and I got a triple espresso like Starbucks thing. So I was like, I just want to pump fucking caffeine and like blast through the night. So I drank my thing, I ate my food, and I immediately fell asleep. Caffeine did nothing.
For our listeners at home, for those who don't know, Tom basically had the Wombo Bombo combo of a laxative like coffee on top of chicken, which we soon shall find out was not maybe cooked all the way.
I guess. So what happened was, I fell asleep at like 3 a.m. So like basically I finished my food and instantly fell asleep even though I was fucking pounding espresso. I woke up at my normal time though, like around like 6 when I usually would anyway, and I was like, that's weird. I feel oddly awake right now. I gotta get up and go to the bathroom. So I went to the bathroom, and then I was like, that's strange. My mouth feels like it has lots of like saliva in it. Like, way more than usual. Like, it just feels like there's fucking sloshing saliva around. Oh, God. And then I'm bent over the toilet fucking puking everywhere. It's just fucking projectiles splashing everywhere. It's all over the fucking bowl. All over the floor. It was just a nightmare. And I just had to fucking... the worst thing is, last week, my boss is like a fucking incompetent dipshit. So he just like doesn't get work for like weeks
at a time.
That's slander,
Tom. You can't say that. That's slander.
And I don't care.
You should say hypothetically though. But hypothetically, how is your boss?
Hypothetically, if my boss was a fucking bluthering retard, he's actually. I mean, the work he does is fine. It's just that he fucking fucks up and doesn't get us any work, and we only work like fucking 25 hours a week.
Hypothetically, of course.
Hypothetically. So, here's my address. Here's his name. Please, blacklist him. Anyway, I actually don't. I don't.
You're gonna get blacklisted. You fucking nonce.
He's a nice guy. It's just he's a shitty boss. But I didn't work for a whole week because he just didn't have work for us. And then Monday, first day back, I was Sunday night. I told him like, hey, or do we have work tomorrow? Yes. Okay, I'll be at your house or whatever. Next morning, I'm puking all over myself, and I just had to text him like, "I'm so sorry. I started throwing up out of nowhere. I can't come in." And then now today, so I just like I kind of just like laid around. I slept. I played a bunch of like Yakuza. I stayed from school, which technically means I went over the 4 absences limit, but also that doesn't matter at all because you can just make it up at the end of the like thing.
Mm-hmm.
So in 2 years I'll just make that up and it doesn't matter. They try to really scare you with that thing. Like in the school they tell you if you're out for more than 4 days you're absolutely fucked, and then it's like actually it's not at all. It doesn't matter if you're out for 4 days. But anyway, so I stayed over school. Today comes around. I'm like, you know what? I'm feeling better. I go to work, and through no fault of my own, we end up working a really long day. I didn't have time to eat breakfast. We don't get lunch breaks. So when I get home, I'm fucking starving. And
hypothetically, you don't get a lunch break, Tom.
I don't get a lunch break. That
would go against the labor laws, right? Hypothetically.
I mean, I think that technically if I wanted to, I could just tell him I'm going to go get lunch, but he'd like be annoyed, and it's not shitty to deal with. But anyway... Oh, and also he would dock me the pay for the half hour. He would be like, well, this is unpaid time.
That goes without saying.
But anyway, I get home and I'm fucking starving, so I eat like a bunch of, like, I went to like the pizzeria. So now I have a migraine from hunger, and like my stomach hurts from like eating a bunch of food all at once. And I'm getting allergies and I'm coughing, and it's just this shitstorm of I just feel like I'm gonna die.
It's great, yeah. And for context, for me, basically the same thing happened to me. Not really. I don't know if it's like I think it's probably just like seasonal sickness mixed with like the common cold just getting spread around. And I basically ended up with like a fucking. It felt like an infected ear. It was more like a stuffed up ear and like all this crazy cool shit. Vomited on myself in the shower. It's very Moy epic. And then had like a shitty throat for like an entire week. Still have one today. You just can't tell because I'm a professional. But yeah, it's not fun being sick. And I think the sort of like context for this episode, if you haven't guessed it already, viewer, is what the hell should you do when you're sick, but also feel like a piece of shit, and you also feel like you need to be creative, or like you have like deadlines and outputs you need to do, because it's really it's on you as an artist, right, to kind of put stuff out, because if you're not, then nothing's happening, right? And I think the brunt and like short answer to that is don't do anything. You should be fucking resting and sleeping so that you can be better for tomorrow, right? I think that's like pretty clear, like cut advice for that. If you just like keep yourself up worrying about like deadlines and shit and stressing yourself out even more, you can tend to end up just increasing the amount of time you're actually sick. There's this weird study done about like stress and people being sick and how they kind of correlate with one another, but the real over under is like if you are stressed out, then to some extent you're exhausting energy on stuff that doesn't need to be exhausted on when you already have such like a limited capacity to do stuff. It's a lot harder than it sounds to be like, oh, I'm just not going to stress out, right? Yeah. It's a weird practice you have to get into, like meditation or something like that, where it's it really relies on like this weird mental fortitude of not only not getting stressed out, but knowing how to not get stressed out about stuff like that. Especially if you're like a creative that is constantly posting something, because that's kind of what the internet industry kind of demands from us. Is just to be constantly churning stuff out, and if you're not, then your fans think you're dead or gone, or you quit the internet, which is psychotic. But the long and short of it is, if you genuinely want to like learn how to like not get stressed out about stuff like that, it's much like exercise. It's kind of like a long-term goal where you have to rationalize everything in your head. I think a good kind of like side tangent to this about getting sick and then being worried about deadlines and stuff is kind of goes into like procrastination, as well as like the fear of like not doing stuff. Like so like a common example, right, Tom, is you end up having a deadline, and then instead of doing the deadline, you like waste your time doing something else, like cleaning the house, or like you're like, oh, this is a perfect time to get my like license renewed, and it's like, what? Why is it a perfect time for that? Like you need to like work on this commission, or you like talk to a friend on Discord or just anywhere.
That was me when I was still in school and I had like homework and shit to do, and I was like, I'm gonna clean my room up real quick. Oh, my room looks so good now. I'm gonna go do this other thing, and then I just have like 10 fucking papers that I was supposed to be doing that I haven't touched in weeks that are due like tomorrow.
Yeah, and it's really impossible to like even do that kind of shit when you're sick. So as crazy as the concept sounds, I think a good way to like get ahead of having sick days is by having productive work like weeks, as far as like if you're able to like pull your like week schedule to be like, if for whatever fucking reason like your hands get crushed and it takes like them a week to like regenerate or whatever the hell, you'll have like content that you can post. And it doesn't even have to be good content. It could be like back burner stuff where you're like, I wasn't sure about posting this, but you know, maybe if I'm sick or something, I could definitely just use this as like a little bit of a like a filler episode, right? Because everyone has filler. It's very common in every industry. It's perfectly fine. And if you can even get away with like not even just using filler, but being ahead of your schedule, where it's like, hey, you know, I have all this like pre-recorded footage that I've already edited together. I just haven't put it out yet because, you know, it doesn't need to go out yet because I already uploaded a video. Then that's even better, because sure, you'll be a week behind your schedule of being a week ahead, but you won't be like stressing out trying to make another video or something like that while you're sick, right? Because at the end of the day, I think we can all agree, even at our lowest like a peak, when it's like being creative and sick, it tends to make kind of sloppy stuff. Especially if you're like the perfectionist type and you don't really rely on like doing fun stuff with your art, or if because like it's always like ebbs and flows. Like it's either you really focus on fun or precision, and there's a weird in between, right, that a lot of people tend to hang around. And if you're like a perfectionist when it comes to your craft, it tends to be that when you like get out of your like haze of being sick and stuff, that the creative thing that you made that you were trying to be relatively like polished and perfected on turns out like very mediocre, like very, very mediocre, where you're like, it was a waste of time for me to even work on this. Like it would have been better if you did nothing than made it. I don't know if you've run into kind of scenarios like that, Tom, when you've tried doing creative stuff like under the weather.
See, I was gonna say like, so I do art just constantly for fun. So like I don't have as much of the perspective. Oh, by the way, I should mention this is a little lore thing. I finished up those commissions that I mentioned that I fucking was sitting on for a million
clap,
years.
Clap, clap, clap. Everyone give them a golf clap.
But anyway, so for the most part, I'm not doing art for anyone. I don't have any deadlines. So it really then in that situation, it really depends on like how sick I am, whether or not I actually do art. Because I'm thinking I just draw for fun. So if I'm like well enough to fucking sit around and play Dark Souls, I'm also well enough to sit down and draw. I can't think of anything because it's like mentally draining. That's why like on occasion when I'm sick, I'll get into a weird headspace and start drawing fucking a million trillion things, and like I do amazing stuff. Same kind of idea as like when you're drawing like really late at night, you're just in a warped mindset, and you're just doing great stuff.
That flow state.
Yeah. But other times I'll like just be like, I want to draw something, but I feel like shit and I can't think of any ideas. And it's I think that it's harder for that kind of person where like you're not drawing for work, because when you're drawing for work, it's very easy to rationalize like, you know, well, it's work, so I just won't do that today because I'm sick. You know, it's a sick day. Whereas I feel like when it's for fun, it's not as stressful, obviously, But it creates a new issue of, like, why can't I do this thing? This is a thing that I already like doing that is fun, that isn't work to me. Or, like, maybe it is work, but, like, it's just work I really love doing, and I don't know why I can't do it, because it's not just I feel weak, it's this deeper mental thing of, like, being sick is fucking up the way my brain is functioning, and it's making me, like, fucking depressed.
Yeah, and there's a lot of ailments, I'll say, out there, even just the common cold, where I think if you're the type of artist that's really, like, in control of their body and their movement and stuff like that, and you get kind of pissy when, like, you cough and then, like, it totally, like, fucks up your line, and then you do another thing, or, like, your hand's shaking because, like, you're just sick, you're cold, you're fucking fatigued, right? And it can really be, like, not disconcerting, but, like, you'll feel like it's basically that feeling of, God damn it, I can't do this, even though I've done it, like, all the time, and you feel defeated when you really shouldn't be. You should feel like, oh, I need to fucking rest. Like, I'm starting to see spots and shit. Like, that's another thing where, like, we've talked about this, how it's definitely not healthy to pull, like, all-nighters or, like, like, work for 3 days straight.
Yeah.
Because you'll see shit that you do not want to see. Like, your vision will start to go more narrow. Like, darkness will kind of, like, wrap your eyes. And, like, being sleep-deprived is, like, the worst thing. Even if you're in that flow state constantly of being able to, like, produce stuff, it's not ideal for your mental fortitude in the long term. And it's sure as shit not good in the short term either, because truth be told, you're going to end up sleeping like 12 hours to make up for the 3 days you didn't sleep, and you're not really going to end up saving any time, and you're just going to cause more headache. Really knowing your limits when it comes to that stuff, especially when you're sick, is, like, ridiculously important to prevent really delays in your production, right? Because if you end up pushing yourself through that sick day and you end up creating another sick day for yourself, then it's just like you're back at square one, where it's like you get very bad return on investment, where it's like, truth be told, you probably could have spent a day or two just sleeping, eating right, drinking some tea for your throat, and you would have been, like, fucking back at it like after 2 days.
Plus, it's also just a really good way of giving yourself a mental break. Just being like, this is just a day to fucking chill out and play fucking Yakuza with some friends on stream or something.
Yeah.
Like, this is a do-nothing day. I'm just gonna fuck around. Have some fun.
Speaking of fucking around, Tom, are you comfortable with me divulging my my lucid sleep dreams of you?
Go ahead. Your Freudian fucking desires.
Yeah, my desires, my deep desires. Now it's probably just because I'm horny for cock, because I haven't had a partner in a fair amount. It hasn't been a year yet. Hopefully that'll change soon. We'll see. But so in my fatigue state of, like, because I don't know if anyone else gets this, where it's like you get sick and then it's like you sleep for a long time, you wake up, then you sleep again, then you wake up, then you sleep again. It's kind of like you're knocking yourself in and out of REM sleep constantly. I get that a lot. And so what tends to happen, even though I don't have many dreams, the ones I do tend to pop up when I'm, like, sick, because my brain's just on, like, autopilot at that point. And I had a very sexy dream of me and Tom being at my cool little farmstead, and the conversation basically went this, where it was like, Tom was like, "Hey man, are you able to, like, suck my cock?" And I was like, "Well, Tom, I'm not really a huge, like, proponent of, like, friends with benefits, but if you really needed me to suck your cock, I would do it."
It took so little convincing.
Yeah, and you're like, "Thanks, man." And I was like, I asked you, Tom, I was like, well, would you be willing to suck my cock? And you were like, you kind of like didn't answer back. I was like, well, okay, whatever, Tom. I'd still suck your cock. And then I was about to go and suck Tom's cock, but then, like, something arose where I was like, we had to go outside. And then Tom was like, okay, I'm gonna head to my car and then leave. I was like, no, wait, Tom, I gotta suck your cock. And then he left. And then I woke up with a boner. I was like, damn it, I could have sucked Tom's cock.
And you know what? See, this is you. We had this discussion before. This is you realizing, oh, I guess that people do just like sucking dick for the sake of it. even if they don't, they just.
I never
like
denied that, Tom. I never denied
no,
it.
you did. You were like, no. Well, the reason you do it is for the other person, right? And it's like, well, no. Some people just like having.
That's what I'm saying,
but
though.
I mean, some people like the feeling of just having a dick in their mouth.
Okay. No. Hold on. Listen, viewer. All right. This is my how my brain works. All right. And I don't expect everyone else's brain to work the same, but this is how my brain works. Right. All right. It's this. Obviously, you don't have like weird. Well, you do have like pleasure centers in your mouth as far as like tasting and whatnot, but like as far as I can tell, right, you don't have like the same like orgasm as like getting fucked in the ass and in the G spot, or getting like slobbered on your knob. And what I'm saying here, Tom, is when I go to suck a cock, it genuinely does be like I am happy that they're happy, and that's how I'm getting off to this, is that I'm doing a good deed for them. I'm doing a good service for my friend Tom by sucking his cock, because he really needed someone to suck his cock, all right, Tom? And that's how I get horny.
Think of it like this. When you see like a beautiful person, like a beautiful naked fucking femboy with a tiny little cock between his legs.
Yeah, and you want to suck their toes, right?
You see that, and that is a pleasurable experience, even though nothing is being directly
visual stimulants.
What?
Yeah.
There's
it's like visual.
Yeah, it's the same thing for people that just like having a dick in their mouth. There's nothing technically like biological that should make you feel good from that. They just like doing that.
I guess, but like, I guess you could come to that where it's just like
you wouldn't come to it. It's just it would feel good for you, and then maybe. I don't know, you fucking jerk off to it later or something.
Yeah, I don't know the weird twisted science of sex and lies and scandals that come from doing horny art. All I know is that I do it. But yeah, Tom, it's just like that was my fucking psychosis. That was my fever dreams I was having, quite literal fever dreams of trying to suck Tom's cock. And the thing is, the best part of it all, Tom, is like you think like, oh, you're thinking of my profile picture, or you're thinking of Isabel. No, I was thinking of like real ass Tom, because I've seen him in person. So I was thinking of just his like, his cool, just his whole visage. I don't want to give details in case someone docks you and like hunts you down for organs, but it was just Tom as Tom, and I was like, yeah, I'd suck your cock out of respect for my fellow bro who makes art, as well as you looking, Tom's like a solid 5, I'd say 5'6". Maybe if like he said, he's exercising more, so who knows? All right.
Wait. Milkshake wants to appear in your dream next time so that you can tell him what they look like.
I don't have any. No, that's not how dreams work. This is actually conclusive evidence, Tom. Did you know this? Where you can't dream of someone you've never seen before. Like you can't, you'd probably replace them with like an image of a person you already know, but you can never like dream of like, a random person. Like your brain's not good enough for that.
You wouldn't create a person necessarily, but I think that if it was, I've had dreams that
you'd probably create like a concept, like a feeling.
Yeah, exactly. Or like, I've had dreams that involved like Bank before.
Yeah.
I sucked his cock, no, but like, I feel like if anything, you might imagine them as like an anime character or something. Like, I feel that if I had a dream involving milk, maybe it would be like, it wouldn't be Rei Ayanami, but it would be something that looked vaguely similar to that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You dream of like sucking Rei's cock, even though she's underage and she also has a cock, but she's also spoilers. But she's also a clone. Right?
She's also the main character's mom.
Yeah, so it's this weird kind of like thing you'd be into where it's like you're not only are you doing Fuda, but you're also doing like MILF, but also it's a clone, but also she's underage. So it's like where do we draw the line? Japan. That's all I'm saying. All right. Like where? Okay, Tom. No, the real question. All right. If Rei had a cool porn, right? Like a cool Japanese porn, where would it be located in like the tags? Would it be like, oh, it'd be in the MILF section, or would it be in like cute young girls, because they have that in Japan because they're fucking freaks? Yeah. Or would it be in the Fuda section?
Yeah, no, it wouldn't be MILF, because MILF generally refers to the like
body type,
the body type and like the vibes more particular.
Yeah, like actually taking care of someone.
They have to be like the motherly type with the seductive eyes, and they're stroking your hair.
Yeah.
Whereas Rey is just like a random girl. Like she wouldn't.
Yeah.
She is a clone of a mom, but she's not a MILF. If it was the girl she was cloned from, then sure.
That's a good question. Does one become?
MILF is like, not transitive.
Exactly. So because we've had this conversation before, where it's like, are all women who have kids technically MILFs? And it's like, well, yeah, yes. Right, because that just makes sense because they are moms. If you want to fuck them,
yes.
Yeah, if you any mom you would like to fuck is instantaneously like a MILF, right? But like the moment when you clone a mom, like much like the titular film Mars Needs Moms, Tom, where they didn't necessarily clone the mom, but they took her like her abilities and like put them and distributed them across robots to take care of their people.
Wait, that's what happens in that movie?
You didn't know that?
No, I've never seen that movie because Mars Needs Moms.
Yeah, my biggest problem with Mars Needs Moms, ladies, all right, is this. Because in the film, they, not for spoilers, but like in the film, they literally introduced the concept of this is their second time abducting a mom, clearly. And it's like, well, why do they need to like re-abduct, like re-get a mom? Because like all they're doing is like transferring their consciousness onto like a jillion robots to take care of the kids, right? And so the question then becomes, is it like, did they update their robots and now they need like a new consciousness? Which is, it seems silly because it's like, why wouldn't they save it on like a cool memory thing, like an SD card? Or is it as simple as this, Tom, where it's like a video game where someone didn't keep the backup for the mom and they're like, ah, shit, I guess we got to get a new fucking mom. And it's like, yeah, we don't have the source code for our last mom. Larry, what the fuck did you do? It's like, he's like, sorry, guys. It wouldn't be even guys. It's women. It's because it's all women on Mars. That's the crux.
Why do they need moms then? They should just abduct like one guy.
Well, yeah. So like, it's weird. So the way it works is this is well, let's do a brief synopsis of Mars Needs Moms because this is important.
I actually want to say this first, really, really quickly. Yeah. So I only ever knew that it was about Martians who kidnapped a mom because they needed a mom for some reason. That's basically the extent.
How'd you figure that out?
Of what it basically because of the title and like the couple of trailers I saw when I was like very young. But I don't know what I ever thought would come after that. I think I just like I didn't think it through. But the next step in that plan would just be that like. They just like rape her over and over and make her like birth a bunch of Martians. That's like what that movie was in my head.
So that's exactly not how that movie is. So it's actually kind of Rick and Morty-esque. Like I guess Rick and Morty also copied the sci-fi idea off of other ones where it's like, okay, so here's the setup, right? Mars is a female utopia, or as some would see, a dystopia. Yeah. But anyways, their whole rigmarole is this: like they separate the males from the females. The males become fucking cavemen who don't like get to see the light of women, and then the women. Oh,
that's literally like copied from like an old sci-fi movie, like really fucking
it
old.
Literally is. It's just a verbatim copy. Yeah. But here's the thing, though, right? So the women are too busy like running the world and being like boss bitches, anyways, and so they can't take care of their own young. And it becomes apparent to them that they need like robots to take care of them. But the problem with the robots is that they're robots and they don't understand how to take care of like Martians or just like creatures in general.
You know, maybe if they brought the men back, they wouldn't need the fucking robots.
See, Tom, you're already figuring out the fucking plot instantaneously. Yeah. So not to jump the fucking shark, but anyways, so let's just fast forward. All right, so they kidnap a mom. And then they flush her consciousness, or at least they try to, onto like a multiple robots, so that's like they don't have to do any programming, right? And they don't know what AI is. But you're probably questioning yourself, like, how are they able to procreate still with like with the robots? Like it's like it doesn't make any fucking sense. But what you find out when the kid rushes to save his mom as she gets abducted, he gets like stuck on the spaceship or whatever. And then he ends up on Mars, where his mom is located. But he finds here's what he finds. He finds an astronaut, a real ass astronaut on Mars who's like, yeah, I've been here for fucking years, dude, just surviving with the Martian bros. But here's the twist, right? The twist is this: he's not actually an astronaut because we can't fly to Mars. He's actually another fucking kid who got abducted with his mom when he tried to save her, but he couldn't do it in time. And he had to watch his mom fucking die as they use him for AI purposes to raise their young. Yeah, it's pretty fucking sick. Sick and twisted for a kid's movie. Anyways, it continues on because he has like the power of friendship and a kid who's never grown up but only grown up on Mars. And also, this is another cool B plot is that a character on Mars, the first kid that got abducted with his mom, actually falls in love with a Martian woman. So if you ever want to draw cool,
this is
art,
this is the one that killed my mother.
Yeah, well, no, but okay. So, anyways, so they basically save his mom. He and his mom go back to the Earth, and they learn that males are actually really good at raising kids. And what would you know it? The things they've been casting out, thinking that they didn't need them at all for like anything, was the solution to their problem the entire time. That's about the synopsis of Mars Needs Moms. If you ever wanted one. Yeah, truly a masterpiece. A tour de France.
A classic. A tour de France.
Yeah, as the French would say.
It's truly a classic of our time.
Yeah, honestly, Rotten Tomatoes gave it 100%. I'd give it 110% because that's how much effort they put into it.
You give it 6 popcorn bags out of 5.
Yeah, I'd give it 5 Martian moms out of 6 human moms. But you gotta do the math on that. Can we get a graphic conversion
on screen for that? 6 Martian moms.
No.
And 3 bags of soda.
I do all the editing, and I don't want to do that. Hi, I'm the editor, by the way. For anyone confused, right? Because you think we're big money, rich bags artists.
Yeah.
I'm the one actually doing all the fucking art and editing and syncing the audio and the funny sound effects like this one that doesn't show up because I forgot to add it. But like a clown honking noise, like honk honk, like that. That's a sound effect, but I did it with my voice. So, but let it be known, viewer. Lazy bitch boy Tom, even though he does a lot and I do cherish him a lot, I do all the cool effects like the blender. Look at the blender thing that's rendering right now. Isn't that cool? It's like an image for a podcast. It's like a moving picture or something.
When you say that, you should have the fucking like the Deltarune explosion GIF play just randomly in the middle of the screen.
I don't know what that is.
Look at the blender. You'll see. It's like I think it's a common explosion effect, and they just use it a lot in Deltarune.
I'll do the creeper explosion effect right now. I didn't do it. Fuck. Oof. I'm really dropping the ball in this episode.
I don't know how to draw Freya's hair anymore. What the fuck happened?
You got sick, remember?
No, but like in general, I haven't been able to draw Freya's hair properly in a while. I don't know what's going on.
Oh yeah, speaking of, we can finally talk about this. We can finally divulge more shit about the podcast because it's finally out. Like, we finally released the first episode on YouTube. So when you hear this, viewer, you'll be like, what? You had this much backlogged and you didn't care to like upload it? First off, yes. Second off, it was more the reason we have so much audio backlog was kind of to test the waters, as it were, to figure out if this was something we could really fit in our schedules to like push out. And it turns out we kind of can, and it's nice. I like doing the podcast. It's very consistent for the most part, and we're getting more guests on, so look forward to that. But this kind of coincides with the whole like being sick and like prepping for shit. Like, I've already got like an episode rendering right now, viewer. So I don't have to worry about crazy shit. All I have to really do is like worry about thumbnail art and descriptions, which I can just copy and paste or whatever. But luckily for me, I have a cool artist friend, which is myself, who makes thumbnails, but also Tom. He's also making some of the thumbnails for this podcast. We're kind of like I think the flow right now is we're just gonna flip flop each episode, whoever does the thumbnails, but so it's not like too strenuous on each other. And it's a lot of fun. This podcast is really cool, and you should tell your like friends about it. That's our ad.
Tell your firstborn son.
Yes, especially we need to get those. They're not even Zoomers anymore. We call them We call them P-pods. That's the new term for the new millennia
What's
kids.
the Gen Alpha is the word, right?
I believe it's Gen Alpha and Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. I believe that's the term that they use. Everything's based around Pokemon generations now. So if you're born like right now, you'd be Scarlet Pokemon, yeah, or you'd either be Scarlet generation or you'd be Power World generation. I hate to break it to you, but Power World's an actual Pokemon licensed LLC, and it's what it is. That's the wool pulled over your eyes, guys. You didn't realize it, but Pokemon made Pal World. That's why it looks the same, and that's why they don't sue them, because they'd just be suing themselves. That's a real conspiracy right there. That's the real shit. Do we want to talk about that Pal World? It seems like old fucking hat at this point. It's just silly. A lot of people talking about Pokemon and lawyer shit when the vast majority of people talking about it don't know jack shit about laws at all. Like, I don't know, it's silly. I guess in a brief like synopsis for anyone wondering, if you're in the far off year of like 2024, Power World's basically a Pokemon game where you catch Pokemon, but it's also crafting and whatnot. But when we say Pokemon game, it's very loosely Pokemon based, where it's like you capture creatures, they attack, and you're probably wondering to yourself, how the hell could fucking Nintendo sue over something like capturing monsters or whatever? That's literally what Digimon is, or like any other fucking capture based system in any video game, right? And a lot of pseudo lawyers on the internet are like, can't you see these Pokemon look exactly like these Power World creatures?
There are a couple where I saw some Power World like clips and I was like, okay, that's literally just a copy of like a Pokemon. There's like the one shark one that's like it almost looks like they could have taken a model from Pokemon and just altered it slightly, but like still, it's not I don't think it's nearly enough to sue over. But I do see where some people are coming from, where it's like, these are the same design. Come on.
Yeah, they're just trying to, be a part of the like loud boombox that is. Yeah. I'm talking about a topic that's topical right now. It's such a hot topic, and then they go to Hot Topic, they get their Pal World, emo shit T-shirt that's like made from like a Chinese sweatshop, and then they're like, guys, this is literally a copy of Pal World in Invader Zim and cheeseburgers, and then they get 1 million likes, and we love them for them. We love those people because we can laugh and say, why am I not getting views like this person? And it's great. But yeah, so in summation, if you're curious about like how law in general works, especially what is it? It's called it's what Nathan For You fucks around with a lot with like dumb Starbucks. That's another classic example of people freaking the fuck out over nothing, which is it's parody law, right? So the whole like crux of parody law is it basically runs down to this one niche thing where it's like, well, for someone to sue you for doing something that's a parody, first off, it has to be clearly that you're trying to do a parody, right? For them to even consider like, oh, you're trying to steal our IP or like make a mockery of us, right?
Well, here's the thing. And then this is a very small thing, but fair use does not exist in Japan. So we're talking about a company that is Japanese. They don't care if it's a parody. They'll stomp you anyway. They'll send you ceases and desists and shit.
Yeah, it's weird in Japan because it's like, you're like, what? But also, how are they able to make like a shit ton of like porn of like all these like IPs and stuff? And it's because it's like, I don't know what the exact like root of it is, but it feels to me like the reason that there's no parody laws or anything like that, or like fair use, is because like if you make something and you make money off of it, like a cool like porn parody, a manga, and it's put out there for the masses to like, to like take like a use and jerk off to, then it's like it's up to the actual person who owns the IP to like fucking railroad you and get you out of there. But for the most part, not a lot of companies do that because I guess in Japan they're just like, they just understand like, yeah, this person's making more stuff for our thing. It's getting our brandage out there. Well, and hell, we could even hire them.
I think it's mainly because like there's just so fucking much of it that you can't police it. You literally can't take down every fucking Princess Peach like porn comic. It's impossible. But they have been like cease and desisting like Twitter artists lately and shit.
Yeah, there's always like waves of that where it's like I think they're really just putting up a front, but who knows?
Maniacus, that animator, they had for the longest time they were drawing like those main two Inkling characters, and I think lately they said fuck it and just started drawing the Inklings again. I checked their account and I was like, oh look, it's them. But for a little while when Nintendo was doing that like takedown spree, I think they were one of the people that got hit by it, and they were like, I'm not drawing those Inkling characters anymore, but I am drawing these two characters that are just like slight tweaked versions of the Inkling characters.
Yeah.
And it was just as good, but it was just funny because it was like they can't technically call them like what they are.
Yeah, and with the way parody law works, right, is so a good example is like Mad TV, right? They do a lot of parodies of like fucking everything, and the reason they can mostly get away with it is because they are a big company and they do make kind of like, they had the Mad, comics and all that, and the TV show on Cartoon Network and all that. But for the most part, they were relatively big, and it's hard to take down something that's big, and for a fact they have lawyers, so they can easily countersue, and they won't exactly go bankrupt trying to get a lawyer because they probably have one on retainer, right? So then it becomes really the people that go like a classic one is the King, like the King Kong of lawyers teams, which is literally the King Kong team. So anytime like anyone tries to use like a King Kong logo or like and it's not even King Kong, it's fucking Godzilla. I got them mixed up. But so it's the Godzilla lawyer team. It's another team based in Japan, right? And like anytime you use Godzilla, they'll fucking hound your ass and like just sue you like into the dirt for just even using like a fucking like vague like image of Godzilla. And they mainly do like a lot of threats and stuff around that. And the biggest thing when you have to countersue someone over parody or like even just using an IP, you have to do studies to determine if this branding thing you made can be confused with the actual IP itself and how much damage that could cause. And so what that ends up being is, since you as the one being sued, you have to countersue and you have to prove your innocence. And what that means is you have to basically get studies done to be like, okay, I need to get like a test group of people and I need to pay them, and then I need to show them my thing, and then I need to show them the original thing and see if to the normal viewer, if to a normal consumer, if they cannot tell if the difference, if this is actual parody or not, then it becomes on you, the one being sued, fault for creating something that can be confused with the original IP and causing a detriment to the original creation, and causing loss in some type of revenue of any kind, right? And that's like the big crux of like parody law. And it works for the most part when big companies want to just take down the small guy. Like, anyone selling like fake Pokemon cards or like fake plushies of Pokemon, like, or even like games that are trying to be like exactly verbatim like Pokemon, where they'll even like copy like the code and stuff like that. It works for all that kind of stuff. And especially Nintendo gives a shit about like the quality of their brand and image, because that's kind of like all they have when it comes to like, I mean, besides making good games obviously, but that's what they have, is good branding and good like recognition across the board, because they're known as like the people that brought video gaming back with Mario. And so every time you see that Nintendo brand like logo, like seal of approval, it's supposed to give you, the consumer, like, oh, this is going to be a good game because it's made by a good company, right? And that's the image they're protecting, right? When they, sue all these weird bootlegs and shit. But that's also why they can't sue something like Digimon, right? Because Digimon's not a ripoff of Pokemon, even though they sound similar. And in fact, Digimon came out before Pokemon, I believe.
Yeah.
Because they were like little Tamagotchis.
Yeah, Digimon was first, and Pokemon was essentially a copy of it.
It was a copy of Digimon, honestly. Yeah. And so that's one reason why they can't fucking sue Digimon, because they fucking copied it. But another thing you could really do with like the whole Power World thing is be like, we weren't copying Pokemon, we were copying Digimon. And it's like, whoa, okay. So I guess the people that have to sue you is the Digimon people. And it's like, Digimon's not gonna fucking sue your ass. They're just busy making good games. But like, I guess in summation, to kind of wrap all this up, all this stupid lawyer talk that's not even like, it's the basics of like what has to go down as far as like suing someone over like destroying your IP with a mockery and whatnot. But it's a strange world we live in where a lot of people think they're like pseudo lawyers who understand like the ins and outs of everything, including me. Like, I don't know jack shit, but the things I do know are like very basic. And I guess the main crux of why Nintendo doesn't like sue Power World is simply because it's not a Pokemon ripoff. It's clearly its own game that has like a long-term development behind it, that has a fan base of people that want to buy it, not because they think it's a Pokemon game, but because they know it's a Power World game and they're tired of fucking Pokemon. And so if Nintendo actually went and sued Power World, it would look very shitty on Nintendo's side of things, being like, yeah,
because Nintendo really cares about their fucking public perception.
Yeah, they don't care about it to the extent of like, when it's when you're destroying the small guy, right? But I think if we look at like Power World's like selling numbers, and then you also look at the idea of like, okay, well, what if Nintendo did sue Power World and they had to take the game down, right? What would that actually end up doing, right? It would probably end up maybe backfiring on them, where it's like, oh, you can't handle competition because people like this game more than your shitty buggy games that are coming out recently. Is that what it is, Nintendo? And it's like, you can definitely see it from that perspective where it's like, that's not good.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll see what happens. I'm sure, like, honestly, I think all of this is just like fucking smoke and mirrors and fake news just pluming out of nowhere so that people have something to talk about when it comes to Power World. Mm-hmm. Because I'll be honest, I played it. It's a neat concept for a game. It's not anything like Pokemon, and when you play it, of course. And honestly, if you like base building, if you like, kind of honestly, that game, Power World's more of a Factorio clone if you think about it, with how kind of like the systems work. And capturing mons, or whatever the hell they call them, is while a kind of key component in the gameplay. It's kind of like it takes like a little bit of a backseat, I'd say, because for the most part you kind of just use them as like slave making, Chinese sweatshop workers. It's like, whatever. But yeah, Power World, give it a look instead of just like watching people talk about it. I think the price tag's okay I think it's kind of early access. Yeah. It feels early access, but hopefully they do something with it. And yeah, it's multiplayer, so that's cool. You can bash mons with your fucking clubs. You can bash seals in that game with clubs with your friends. So you don't have to be a rich elite to, do some seal bashing anymore. So that's nice. What's your opinion on Power World, Tom?
I
you even have one?
It. What?
Well, really. But you are gonna make porn of it, right? You're gonna make a bunch of like, you're gonna make like that cool yellow cat with like 2 AKs like fucking a chick while he's like firing his guns. And you have like the top text and the bottom text. The top text says "right to bear," and then at the bottom it says "pussy."
I don't like guns and porn. It makes me uncomfortable.
Oh yeah, because the implication.
Yeah,
right,
it just makes me think about. I don't want to think of a character fucking killing people off screen while they're having sex. Also, just the game makes me. I don't know if I'm gonna play that game just because it makes me feel bad. How it's like, oh yeah, you capture this cute little like cat creature and then you chop it to pieces and eat it.
Yeah, I haven't gotten to that part of that game. I honestly I haven't played it that much because it is. I will say this much: it's very much one of those like kind of grindy base building arc type games where it's like, if you like those types of games, great. I've played a little bit one too many of them, and I've kind of found the niche kind of games I actually do prefer, which is games like Minecraft and Terraria. But even then, Minecraft I've kind of gotten burned out on just over the years. But I always come back to it.
I never liked Minecraft as much as Terraria. I think it's fun with friends.
Yeah.
But like, I don't care about like building and shit. I care. I like progression, and Terraria has so much fucking progression.
Yeah, Minecraft's weird in its progression because, like, while yes, it does have a story, if you can call it that, and it does have like progression as far as like I got a diamond pickaxe, look at me. It's very interesting how Minecraft, like given its own devices as well as its weird like interactions with blocks and stuff, you can end up making your own progression with like automation and shit in like base like Minecraft, which is fun if you like really want to get into the weeds of like how redstone and like mob detection and all that weird like nitty gritty stuff kind of works in Minecraft. But other than that, Minecraft as a whole doesn't have like a huge like it's weird. It's like Minecraft's kind of like C#, where it's like it's got a steep learning curve when you really want to like get into the weeds of like how every little thing works in that game, so that you can like manipulate shit. But for the common man, a lot of people don't really get to that point in Minecraft because they're kind of content with the base package.
Not to mention, like, it kind of feels like the automation in Subnautica, where it's like, okay, you can build this crazy farm and like have 14 chests full of this item. But, like, what does it benefit you?
Yeah, but do you need 14 chests of fucking iron? Probably not, but it's nice to have. Speaking of Minecraft, because an update for that recently happened where they implemented an auto crafter in Minecraft. So, quite literally, it's now kind of like official. Like, Minecraft is basically like, it's kind of like third evolution now, where it's like, it is kind of factorial, where it's like,
you think they'll
you can like...
You think they'll add, like, auto miners at some point? Like blueprints?
I doubt it. And even if they did, right, the biggest problem with like auto mining is like the only resource you can really get that you don't have to farm for is like, I guess, quartz or like something shitty like that. Like if you wanted building materials, but if you wanted like raw materials for like upgrading shit like gold, iron, and stuff like that, you can make farms for that easy. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. I don't see it happening in the near future.
I think there's just something inherently satisfying about like setting an auto miner going and then walking away and then coming back and there's a gigantic fucking hole in the ground.
Yeah, there's a missing chunk.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fun. Yeah, Minecraft. That's another creative game. I think a lot of creatives like Minecraft. At least that's my studies have found playing with artists on Minecraft. They just love it. It kind of like tickles that brain of like, you can do anything, be anyone type deal.
I remember when I was younger, I would try to do Minecraft servers with friends and be like, okay, we're gonna have like a whole like society with trade and everything, right? You're gonna have to like trade like diamonds for, and it just falls apart instantly because there's nothing to trade for. It's like, you have iron, yeah. Do you have diamonds? No.
Like, I actually, I had that work out for like a brief minute on one of my Minecraft servers I was on, where we basically built like this old like township, especially because like that was when the trading with the villagers became extremely like revamped, and so we were like, yo, okay, let's just build like an old like town, like an old like castle town where it's like, yeah, we just like have like farmer villagers here and there. We have like a whole walled off area, and I even built like a massive like sewer system that had like secret entrances and like redstone entrances and stuff that led to like a coliseum in the middle of the town, like underground. Like it was this like sewer underground coliseum where we could like do PvP and stuff. It was a lot of fun. It's hard to get a lot of people on that like mindset of like, hey guys, maybe we shouldn't explore the ever expanding world of Minecraft and we should just like build a cool town here. That's why I really love the border concept of Minecraft that they introduced, where it's like you can limit the borders and have it expand based on achievements and stuff like that. That's a lot of fun. Because it does like build its own little, because that's another kind of like progression system you can implement where it's like, oh, I try to get all the achievements so you can expand the border of Minecraft. Like that's a fun concept. I like it.
Minecraft will conquer the world.
Yeah, because Tom, you said you bought the cool new Apple goggles for creative stuff, but you just ended up playing Minecraft in them all the time, right?
Yeah, basically. No, I didn't buy those. Those are fucking crazy, insane. They're fucking $3,500. I still have to get around to watching the reviews of it.
It's bad, Tom. Hey, creatives out there, I think this is a cool concept we can bring up. The cost of the things you use don't necessarily equal the quality of the things you make. I know, what a concept. And I'll go one step further. Buying things doesn't necessarily mean you're going to make something with it, right? You could go out of your way to buy a fucking delicious Wacom Cintiq, right? That cost $1 jillion. But if you don't have the drive already within you to like create constantly, just like drawing on paper and stuff, chances are high you're gonna be like those artists that like buy a fucking Casio keyboard and they use it more as a desk to like put bowls of soup on than like actually make music on. It's a kind of a hard pill to swallow, especially because I used to be like that when I was a youngin, when I was like 19, where I was like, if I just buy this cool thing, I could make so much cool epic stuff with it, and then I end up doing nothing with it. It ends up being like a cool little like shelf piece.
That's what my 3D printer is right now. I'm going to do more stuff with my 3D printer, but that's what it is for me right now. It's just kind of sitting on a desk.
Yeah, Tom, I'm saying it's a lot easier to like show you stuff IRL, but it like traveling to your house is like a trek.
Yeah, come on over.
But I would love to like in person show you like how the inner workings of like a 3D printer kind of operate and how to like really optimize stuff. Because I'll say this much, as a person that loves like optimizing and like reining in like settings and stuff, because that's just how my brain works.
Dude, if you were
3D printers really scratch that itch.
If you were to come, if you wanted to come to my house and just like stay over for like a fucking few days and help me with my 3D printer, I'll fucking pay for your travel expenses and shit.
Yeah, I'd really have to, because the thing would be like, it'd be like one of those things where, because like I work 3 days out of the week, I work 12-hour shifts, but that leaves me with a lot of time on my hands. So theoretically, Tom, if I really wanted to like fucking him and haw, I could fly out to your place and then like fly back within a week. But like if I really, because like, the thing is, Tom, if I was like really gonna go out of my way to fly to fucking where you live, I'd want it to be like a little bit longer than like 4 days. So I'd have to figure that out. But maybe after the meetup, I'll talk to my cool employers and be like, hey bro, can I get some time off? And they'd be like, no, we're at peak season right now, fuck off, work, slave. And then they'd give me my $20 paycheck and I'd be like, I'm not a slave, I'm getting paid. And I run away, I scurry away in my little mouse hole.
And they send their fucking slave hunters after you into the north.
Yeah, but I actually end up in Missouri, which is, even though it's a part of the north, is still a slave state, so I get screwed in the end. And that's my life. That's my life in a nutshell, right? I run to the north, but I always end up in Missouri.
I always come back.
Yeah, like Afton. Afton was a slave owner. Did you know that? That's canonical. He went to the time-traveling ball pit, and he ended up in slave times, and he's like, this is a pretty good idea for, like, a franchise.
I was gonna say something like, isn't it crazy that slavery, like, people are alive today that were slave owners? Not like it was so much more recent than you think about.
Yeah, it's like with the fucking QR code thing where it's like, yeah, we're gonna run out of QR codes by the year 2052. There's just not gonna be any more.
I always love that, like, there's always those things where it's like, did you know that Harriet Tubman and like Thomas Jefferson were alive at the same time? I always like those things that like something that sounds like one of those facts but is a complete fucking lie. You know that Ronald Reagan and George Washington were actually alive at the same time?
And Susan B. Anthony was their friend. They had tea together. No, but you want to know a funny fact that is true that no one talks about? Is that like so like Western times and Victorian times and like the samurai period, right? Like people think of those as like separate things, but those three things happened at the exact same time. So you could theoretically would have had like a cowboy walk into a bar and like a samurai and like a Victorian London like lady be in it for whatever reason because they're traveling.
You just reminded me.
And that would have been a real event.
You just reminded me of a story I've wanted to make for such a long time. I want to do like a fucking... Based on that premise, I want to do a story about like a cowboy that goes to like Sengoku, Japan and like meets a samurai and they have to like fucking fight crime together and shit.
Yeah, but he like uses his gun and he's like, why are you using that firework? And he's like, this ain't no firework, this is my iron.
The samurais use guns too. Fucking idiot.
No, but it'd be more funny if he didn't know what a gun was.
But I would want to do it like really fucking not realistic. Like the only realistic thing about it is the fact that they existed at the same time. Everything else is pure fantasy. Like the guy like pulls his gun on the samurai, but then the samurai slices the bullet in half.
Like slices it. That'd be great. Pulls out his 6-iron. What is that firecracker? I ain't no cracker. Because he thinks he's talking to him like he's a slave owner. That would make sense. That'd be a funny little joke there. And they'd be like, "This is my 6-iron." You're what?
Did you ever hear the black samurai?
The Japanese guys, the Japanese guy, the samurai's like, "Oh, my steel's been folded 6 times." Because they're all confused because they don't understand each other's culture. It'd be great, Tom. I'm telling you, you could run with that idea. There's a lot of cool ideas there, little concepts. And then they run into the damsel, the Victorian lady, and like that's like their Daphne or like their just their third wheel.
See, I would want one of the recurring characters to be Yasuke, the Black Samurai. Have you ever heard of him?
Yeah, that's a real thing.
That's a real guy. There's a fucking black dude that went to Japan and became a fucking samurai.
No.
I had to look into the full backstory. I think he's just straight from Japan. Japan. From Africa.
Born in Japan with alopecia, but the reverse version.
Yeah, anti-alopecia. It's not alopecia, it's albinism. Alopecia.
It's not alopecia. He would have just had no hair. He also had alopecia.
He also separately, unrelated, also had alopecia.
So he doesn't have a cool fucking afro. Artists trying to draw Black Samurai, alright? We know your fucking game. We don't want it anymore. But yeah, you should definitely do that, Tom. You should definitely draw a cowboy, a gunslinging, a samurai.
Come on, we gotta fight these jumping zombies.
Yeah, there's jumping zombies.
Milkshake in the chat says, "Why did I dream of a girl I never met or seen or know anything about?"
You never did. That's a lie. That's lies. That's slanders. Also, Tom, to get off of that, another thing you could do is, because like the classic thing, right, is snake oil, right? Mm-hmm. You know how snake oil is like fake and doesn't do any like medicinal shit? Well, for those who aren't in the know, snake oil originates from China. And when we got a bunch of Chinese people to build our railroads, they brought over with them the medicinal use of snake oil, and it was made from the actual snakes from China and not America. And I think they had like vitamin E when they would like distill the snake's oil, and so it was actually really beneficial for like skin use and like curing joints and all that jazz. But when fucking Americans were like, "Oh, so you just juice the snake, you just get some juice from the snake, right? It doesn't matter what kind of snake." They just got a random ass snake that didn't have any vitamin E in it. And then it just doesn't work.
Most snake oil that was sold wasn't even snake. It was just like a bottle of like vinegar or something. Like, it was just nothing usually. That too. Because they didn't care. They traveled town to town.
It was originally people trying to like make a tincture that worked was originally snake oil because they copied the Chinese people. But yeah, so you could have that concept, Tom, where you have like a cool Chinese character in like Japan and they hate each other, and then he's like, "He's selling us snake oil. That shit doesn't work." And then the Japanese guy could be like, "No, it does." And then it's funny.
Maybe.
Because it does work.
I think it'd be more fun to just have a like old-timey American snake oil salesman who went to Japan, and he's one of like the villains of the show.
Yeah.
Would you boys like to come over here and try out this old ancient Chinese remedy? I know this guy. He came from my own hometown. And the samurai's like, "I don't know about
the
this.
Dune runes. I don't know about this fellow." Yeah. And then you could have like some cool like references to like Leif Erikson, and it's like the guy's like, I'm basically the modern day equivalent of Leif Erikson. I drove out all the snakes from the west and turned them into the delicious tincture. And it's like,
wait,
oh really?
You mean fucking Saint Valentine? No,
or wait. Valentine. I got my guys mixed up.
Saint Patrick.
Patrick. Yeah.
You said
that's why it's called
Leif,
Saint Patrick Day.
Leif Erikson.
I got them confused. Can you blame a guy? They both are the same.
Leif Erikson is like the fucking Nordic guy who discovered America.
Yeah. Do you celebrate Leif Erikson Day, Tom?
It's Leif Erikson Day.
Yeah.
Durgan.
It's horrible.
And St. Patrick is the guy who fucking lied about getting all the snakes out of Ireland.
Yeah.
He's like,
I don't know, man. This potato looks a lot like a snake.
He's like, guys,
ignore it.
I drove out all the snakes from Ireland, but there aren't any snakes in Ireland. He looks at them. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I got them all out of there.
But there aren't any snakes in Ireland. Yeah. Can I have a thank you?
Yeah, thanks to moi. They kill him for fun.
They fucking light him on
snakes.
fire. It hard cuts to him being tied to like a stake.
Yeah, and then Leif Erikson's staring on
in the distance.
Yeah, in the distance, crying. It's a single tear. And so that's our concept. CNBC and or Warner Brothers and or Cartoon Network. If you do want the adaptation rights of whatever the hell show we just made.
It's called
it's gonna cost you. It's gonna cost you big time. It's gonna cost you big time, big bucks. All right, and we get all the branding rights.
Yeah, we get all the merchandising rights. We get all the airing rights. Frankly, you don't get any money except for having. Like,
frankly, you don't get any rights.
You don't get any money from it other than being able to air it on your show, and it's gonna be so good that though you make no direct profit, you'll make tons of profit just from having us.
Yeah, and actually, in fact, you pay us to make it, and you lose money on this. This is what the contract is. Warner Bros. And the sister dog.
It'll be so good that Warner Brothers being able to say, yeah, we made this show. We'll return the money anyway. But we also are entitled to 30% of any profits made by you invoking our show.
Yeah,
if you say
advertisement, or you say the name of it.
If you go into a meeting,
Tom.
If you go into a meeting and you say, "Yeah, we produced this show. We're entitled to 30% of all future earnings on that show that you used us for the pitch for."
And anyone listening to this fucking podcast right now, all right, listen up, dunder fucking heads, all right. We're starving artists. We know the industry, all right? We got to get our good while the getting is good, all right? I don't want to hear any of this whining, bitching, and moaning of oh, you're a sellout. Oh, what about all the other workers that you should be giving your revenue to who've made the show for you and all you really did was nothing and you just talked about it on a podcast. Yeah, well, listen up. Boo fucking who, all right? We're the top dogs. We know how to make fucking podcasts, all right? If you have a problem with it, make your own podcast.
The Black Samurai, huh?
Yeah. He's our bodyguard. We pay him with the big bucks from our show we just made. We literally make
trillions of dollars from selling his action figures.
Yeah. It's got karate chopping action, even though that doesn't make any fucking sense. All right?
We do have multiple lawsuits pending for all the magnets we used to hold it together because we told them we didn't want to have the warning for the age.
Yeah, well, funny story about that, Tom. You think it's the magnets that really get the kid, but truth be told, it's because of the lead-based paint we used around the magnets that really fuck with them because we put it in wrong, so it's just shooting the lead out.
That was a separate lawsuit.
Yeah. Well, the worst part about it all, I think, in summation, was that because of the karate chopping action, the lead-based paint was scraping off of the action figure and then getting projectilely shot out because of the magnets into your loved one's eyes.
In the suit, in the description, they basically said we had somehow managed to create a lead-based aerosol. So that was, I thought that was pretty interesting. I think I'm proud of ourselves.
I think that was revolutionary, honestly. Yeah. I think we're basically we're basically like Apple, right?
We're the next Thomas Midgley Jr.
Yeah, we're basically the next Mr. Peanut. We're basically the next fucking Willy Wonka. We're we're the like industry leading heads.
We are kind of like Willy Wonka
paint.
because we found that like island in the Pacific and enslaved all of its like
with the tribes, with the tribe members, the tribes, Well, it was easy, Tom, because they were all littler than us, so we could just kick them around, and they didn't know what we were.
Executed half
so
the
we
island
just said they were gods.
to establish dominance.
Well, we didn't mean to. We gave them blankets, and like I said earlier in the podcast, we have been a little bit under the weather.
We unleashed 100,000 malaria-laced mosquitoes.
Well, it wasn't exactly malaria-based. I think it was more the common cold, and they were just isolated, so that's kind of how that happened. You know, sorry, not sorry.
Well, those were incidental.
No, those were continental. What did you say? You said incidental? No, they're continental missiles, Tom.
No, I know. No, that's not what I meant.
No, I know. No, see, Tom's confused, right? Because he thought we incidentally landed the missiles, but I said, no, we used continental missiles on purpose. I think that's where your confusion is. Right?
What I meant was the amount of deaths that the missiles caused was kind of irrelevant compared to the malaria blankets.
Oh, yeah. Well, because, I mean,
and
at that point, because at that point, you're just blowing up dead corpses, and this is actually happening. Check it out, guys. Look it up. Australia is funding these bombings with drone strikes by providing these armaments to China and getting rid of indigenous tribes in between. This is real. This is real. This is real shit. You can look it up right now.
Australia's government is fucking pure evil. I wouldn't.
Well, China's buying it. That's for damn sure. But yeah.
If you told me Australia's government was like fucking eating babies, I'd be like, yeah, that checks out.
Well, they aren't eating babies. They're much like the modern day celebs. They're using babies' foreskins to stay alive forever. Because that's just how cells work.
They're using their adrenochrome.
Yeah, they're using their adrenochrome. They're using their Kool-Aid. They're using their Mr. Beast burger. in combination, that creates for a long life.
The Mr. Beast burger is actually, they did a study. It's actually very high in adrenochrome. Have you?
Well, yeah, because it's all cell-based, right? So
yeah. It's all cell-based, he says. Like most, like all, term. like all organisms in the fucking universe.
Man, I hate to break the news to you, Tom, but unlike all that McDonald's food that's based entirely around plastic and fibers and shit, our Mr. Beast burgers made from real cells.
Our Mr. Beast burgers made from real, actual meat.
Can we talk about that? Can we talk about advertising slang? Like how they fucking manipulate words to like make things sound better than they actually are. It's hilarious. Like there's that classic clip of I don't think it's Wolf of Wall Street. It's like it's one of those fucking like, oh, alpha male, I want to be thee. But like it's literally just a guy being like, no, what you do is when you want to sell cancer sticks to people is say it's homegrown and it's a smoother taste with filters, and it's like, oh, okay.
I mean, that's like, I think that was an interesting thing I watched a video about where they were talking about it from the artistic perspective of like making something, you want to like make something sound weird or disjointed, you'll add verbiage that like shouldn't be there. So for example, if you want to market a tomato sauce, you would put on the sauce bottle, like, you put, like, organic, or, like, homegrown, or, small town. You put a picture of, like...
Yeah, local.
Local, where it came from, or something. What you wouldn't want to put is real tomatoes, because that makes you go, what... Was there a reason...
Was it not?
Was there a reason for me to think it wasn't real? Like, what... Yeah. What do you mean, real tomatoes? Do people use fake tomatoes? Do you use fake tomatoes? It's like the JonTron video talking about the fucking Crystal Head vodka, where he keeps running up to people and saying, "There's no glycol in this, no glycol at all," and everyone's like, "Glycol? What the hell is glycol? Like, what should there be glycol? Should I be worried about it not having glycol? Is this dangerous?
Should I be worried about not having enough glycol?
Should it have? I wish you put glycol.
Should I have more?
I wish you put glycol in this because now my bones are melting."
Yeah. Yeah. I think this is a really good. I think for everyone just out there, especially if you're an artist, go and look at like old advertisements, as well as like kind of like the transition period like between them all. You'll learn a lot of like interesting stuff as far as like design and like how the evolution of like trying to like not necessarily manipulate people, but like get them to buy your product more with all these weird marketing trends. It's really handy.
Watching really fucking like commercials in the 50s and shit is really fascinating because it's so much.
They never mention the product.
Well, I was gonna say they make it more transparent. It's so much more transparent. They're just trying to manipulate you in like the older ones because they just walk out and they go, "Do you want a happy life? Buy this potato peeler." And it's like that would never work on a modern audience. We would be like, "Why the fuck? It's a potato peeler. This isn't gonna make my life happy. I don't care. I'll use it 3 times."
Not only that, there's specifically a peanut butter commercial that I think a lot of people should watch. Just look up like 1950s like peanut butter commercial that doesn't say that it's advertising. It's because literally all it does is it talks about like peanut butter, but it never says the fucking brand of peanut butter. It's ridiculous. Excuse me.
Oh, is it one of those commercials where it's like it's not sponsored by like a specific company? It's like a peanut butter consortium of companies. Like how these days you'll have like commercials where it's like, cheese, buy cheese. Do you want cheese? This commercial is sponsored by cheese. And it's like, this isn't like a Sargento commercial.
You know what it is,
a
Tom.
cheese commercial.
So there's a weird history with peanut butter, right? That no one really talks about. Is that so? The peanut butter that we have now is kind of similar in vein to like how bananas are what we have now, where it's like it used to be peanut butter was made from like different like types of peanuts, and not as far as like they were. So when you made peanut butter, you made them all from the same peanut, and you made a butter like paste, and then you sold it as peanut butter, right? But what would happen because of the way the peanuts just are inherently, they would get like fungus and like they would get like weird growths or just like anything under the sun. Like it was just like you would get sick from eating peanut butter because it would just like get filled with like weird toxic shit, because that was the nature of the actual peanut itself being grinded up into a paste and then put it into there. And you're probably thinking to yourself, well, that's why there's a protective seal right now on peanut butter that stops from all those nasty germs getting in there. It's like, well, actually, no, because we had that protective seal technology during that time period. So what was really happening was it was the peanut itself that was bad. Like, it didn't really matter what type of peanut you used to make that paste. It just, for whatever reason, it would just make that gross, just like mold grow on it. And so what we literally did, it's like a fucking Invader Zim episode where they're like, oh, we just genetically made like this specific meat that can't get germs on it. That's literally what we did for the peanuts that we use in peanut butter. Is we made we didn't like genetically make it. I think we like because genetics wasn't really a big thing yet. But we basically like crossbred a very specific breed of peanut so that we could get one that was impossible to get like fungus on when it was turned into a paste or like any type of mold. And so that's why peanut butter now is shelf stable, is because it's made from very specific peanuts that can't get like that weird mold infection on them. And it's fascinating learning the history of it, because like there was this whole epidemic of people being like, we need to ban peanut butter. It's like, no, you can't ban peanut butter, it's too delicious, god damn it. And it's like, oh, we gotta figure something out. And it's like, that's what they did. That's how they figured it out. Same thing happened with bread, crazy enough, with sliced bread. I forget what it was. It was basically like kind of how Walmart exists to this day, where it's like they made like Walmart, sells cheap stuff, and that's how they kind of got popular. And like that, because it's like this massive retailer that sells very like affordable stuff and deals and whatnot. That's how sliced bread was. So the way it would work is like sliced bread technology got like very advanced very fast, and so what they did was they did a small little upcharge on sliced bread, so because they already sliced it for you, right? So of course you want to pay for that upcharge so you don't have to slice your own bread. But then what happened was people got like kind of pissy when like and then it wasn't like the consumer that got pissy, it was literally like the like kind of like other bread companies that were like, well, we don't sell sliced bread, we're gonna get fucked in the end, government, please help us, please bail us out, please put like restrictions on sliced bread.
Please
and they're
understand.
like, Yeah, please understand, I'm not a badass. I can't slice bread. And the government did get involved where it was like, okay, we're gonna ban sliced bread. But then like all the women in the world were like, no, dude, if you get rid of fucking sliced bread, we're gonna ring you. We're gonna fucking vote for like real people. We're actually gonna use our power to vote. And they're like, oh, okay, ladies, sorry about that. Yeah, continue buying sliced bread. And it just worked out in the end, where it was like, and now we have sliced bread.
I think that was the right call to be like, why the fuck are you banning technological advancement? Yeah. Hey, other companies, how about you start slicing your bread, you fucking idiots?
Yeah, you fucking ingrates. You fucking ants beneath our boots.
I wonder if they started doing, because like, really the only bread that you can get as like sliced bread is like white bread, and it's like core variants, like, you know, wheat bread and shit like that.
Well, you can get like whole grain and like.
Well, that's what I mean, but like, you know, it's shit. It's like those kinds of loaves. I wonder if in that era, like early sliced bread, if they started trying to just do that with every type of bread, like baguettes and shit.
Like yeah, you can't do that with a baguette.
You can do it. I just wonder. You don't like find that in the store. You don't find a baguette sliced up into 50 pieces.
Well, the reason you don't is it's because of the structure of the bread. This is actually another kind of little fun like fact about bread, because I've made my own bread, and what you tend to find out when you make your own bread is depending on how much like yeast you add and how much it rises and stuff like that. What happens is like air pockets form in the bread, of course, because that's how bread rises, right? And the normal like store bread you buy is like it's engineered in such a way to have the like smallest of smallest like holes, right? Like when you look at it like a normal like sliced bread, it very rarely do you see like the weird like big bubble. Like maybe you see it like once or twice in a blue moon when you like open up your bread bag and like you fucking fan through the bread like I do, like a deck of cards, and you find the one that has like a hole in it, because that's how just like the yeast bubble kind of like formed and like it created an air pocket, right? But for the vast majority of bread that's sliced that you see, it's all like very small, like contained, like it's almost like you need a fucking microscope to actually see like how the air like pockets formed, right? And the reason for that being is because when you create less like gaps for air to get into, it creates for more fresh bread, because the air won't contaminate it as much and stale it out. And that's why it tends to be having like a bread box, or like putting the ends of the bread, like keeping them to just like cut off air access. It's the same concept with cake. So you can do the same thing with cake. So if you slice like the middle of a cake and then you like put it back together, the area where you sliced won't get as stale as fast, because what you're basically doing is like closing off those like chambers again that let air go into the cake or bread, which then cause it to stale even more. Hence why another thing that a lot of cake people do is icing. Clearly, it acts as a preservative to prevent the cake from drying out. Especially like butter-based like frostings and stuff are really good, because like butter-based frostings are can sit in room temperature and not melt or like get weird and runny. Because like butter, it sits solid in a room temperature. And so that's why it's like good for. That's why a lot of people baked, and you could have like a cake that lasted for a fair amount of time. Because the ingredients you used acted as natural preservatives to prevent drying out or like it tasting like shit after like a day. And in summation, I think that's why you don't see like pre-sliced like baguettes and stuff, because the moment you slice those breads, air just seeps into them. Like the crunchy crust actually acts as a protective barrier to prevent staling, which is very fascinating. But
I always thought
this is an art podcast.
I always thought it was just because it's a shitty eating experience. Because when the hard crust is vertical like that instead of horizontal like it's a hoagie, it just fucking will slide between your teeth and cut up your gums.
No, because like it. I think
I've made sandwiches like that and I hate it.
Yeah, well, if you go to like fancy restaurants, they always like have like baguette bread like sliced like vertically, and it's just like, oh, you put a little dab of butter on it. It's like delicious. It on its own, yeah. But yeah, it's just weird things, weird like real world stuff. I know this is an art based podcast, but I think there's a lot of art in the modern era, as well as just like in the little things. So that's my excuse.
That's weird.
Fuck off.
On YouTube Shorts, I've been getting recommended like lots of cooking shit lately, like baking and candy making and stuff.
I'm surprised not a lot more people bake now, because like I get why people don't bake, because they're fucking lazy millennials, right? But no, but like during COVID, I thought like a shit ton of people would learn how to bake and like make stuff, because
they don't have time anymore. They're working now.
Yeah, they are working, but I would have at least thought that people would have like regained the skill of like, maybe I should do some meal prepping at the very least, and like, do some fun cooking.
The thing is, most people just don't have time to do that. Like normal people, like we're in like this like Discord bubble of like artists and shit, who like actually have hobbies and everything. Most people just like will go to work, do their job, come home, sleep, go to work, do their job, come home, sleep, and then that's their life and existence.
Yeah, and and have kids or anything under the sun like that.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I think it's just one of those things, like many things, much like art, where if you don't make time for it, then the time will never arrive when you make your own cool, like, you're the ribs guy. You know how to make a mean fucking rack of ribs. It's like, well, that will never happen to you if you don't like go out of your way to like learn the craft, right? Same thing with art. You're not the artist if you don't make art. There's ways to go about being an artist without necessarily having to just fucking paint, right? You can find ways to be creative in like any space. What the real thing that you need is like the dedication and time to do that. It's weird. And during COVID, like, I think a lot of people got creative fast.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping that this podcast reaches those people where it's like the people who made time for it because they had an infinite amount of time, whether because they were unemployed or, job work was slow because nothing was happening, right? I hope those people, like, trying to find outlets for creativity still, even though they're kind of back to their 9 to 5, can like listen to this podcast and be like, you know what? Even though I'm back to like my normal work schedule, I'm gonna like build up my endurance. I'm gonna like train. I'm gonna like get into a flow of just spending like an hour doing this art thing, because I had a lot of fun during COVID doing it. It was kind of like the saving grace of my life, and I don't want to let it go so fast. Yeah. I hope that helps. I hope this podcast helps.
Yeah.
I hope you get a laugh, at the very least.
Spent this whole podcast drawing fucking OCs instead of porn. What am I doing?
Oh no, I won't have to censor out these OCs. Aw, shucks.
Alright,
and that's the end of the podcast.
I'll give you one thing to censor.
Okay, draw it and I'll censor it. Joke's on you. I'm still actually recording, but we'll leave it in for the YouTube people to see, and then slam us with this is fucking porn. What the hell are you doing? Get this off of our platform. Go to fucking Pornhub, and I'll be like, okay, Mr. YouTube. Okay, not Wojecki, because you got replaced with a POC, and then I run away.
There you go. You got a nice
all right, that's the end of it.
Veiny cock.